And do you mind if I share a story of what I was experiencing and was going through at that time? And it's going to sound gross, so I apologize, but I have to be real, and I'm all about being authentic in myself. So this was me, not anymore. So I used to drink a fifth of vodka a day. My routine, because I was going to work, I would go ahead and stop at the liquor store. They all love me, by the way. All the cashier was like, "Oh, Gina, my friend, how are you?" And I'm like, "Hey." So what I would do is buy a pint of vodka and one Coca-Cola. What I would do is I would get back in my car, go into the parking lot, pour some of that vodka out, pour some of that Coca-Cola out, mix the vodka inside that Coca-Cola, shake it a little bit, and then drink it. Well, one rainy day before work, I just had enough. I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I cannot live like this."
Welcome to the Logistics Monk Show, the sanctuary for storytelling. I'm excited. Last week, we had some amazing guests. We had Nick Gerard, who was telling all of us about his amazing journey in being an author and going through his stages of life of writing his book in the beginning. But we always gotta take it up one level, one notch on this amazing podcast here. So I'm always honored and happy when I get to actually interview other podcast hosts, because when I go on another podcast, it's hard for me to put that host hat down and stop asking questions, be the person who's giving out those answers and having that genuine conversation with somebody. So I'm really looking forward to today. The audience, you guys are gonna just have so much fun learning all about our amazing guests. We do have Gina Kunadian, who's joining us today. A little bit of a background about her, because this show we come prepared. Gina Kunadian is a multifaceted individual, a devoted wife, a nurturing mother, and a certified massage therapist, as well as the dynamic host of the influential podcast Shine Within. Like I said, everybody go follow her, check out all her amazing episodes. She definitely does post everything on social media, and it's really cool to see these amazing conversations that she has. This is what I've kind of gathered from her. I would say that her primary mission is to guide women towards liberation from alcohol dependency, fostering lives with fulfillment and joy without relying on the traditional 12-step program. Having triumphed over her own personal battle with addiction, Gina's journey towards sobriety has anchored in faith and surrendering to a higher power, a transformation which has guided her to develop the empowering transformation shine process. Like I said, we only bring out the big guns for these shows. So without further ado, let's bring on our amazing guest today. What is going on, Gina?
What up, Ryan? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Was that intro, was that bio good, or what did I miss?
Nothing. Whatever you said is correct. So
like I said, the top podcast out there. So first and foremost, thank you for coming on our show. Whenever we have a pre-chat with a guest, I'm always enthused and I'm really excited, because I think a lot of podcast hosts actually need to do that instead of booking a time to just have people on their show and not connecting and getting to understand who they are and what can they bring to the audience, rather than just bringing on random people who might not fit that message. Let's get right into it. Podcasting. Why?
everybody has a story. But first and foremost, thank you for having me, by the way, Ryan. It's an honor and a pleasure to just be a guest here. I love to be I'm like, oh, I'm guesting today. This is exciting. So yes, everyone has a story. And I believe that everyone needs to share their story, because I feel that people need to hear other people's stories so they don't feel alone and lost in this world, because this world is chaotic, as people know. And we want to connect. We're in a transition. I believe that we're in this human consciousness that is coming together as a collective, both men and women, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm so
everybody who's watching out there, pay attention to that. It's for storytelling. So if you ever feel like your story is not worthy enough, or it's not big enough, or anything like that, cut the crap. Go ahead, share it with people, join a group. If you're not comfortable in being in front of the camera, post some TikToks. I've seen so many of my friends become viral. All they did was just share their story. It was authentically themselves. And one thing that I was really interested to really talk to you about, Gina, was I really would love for you to elaborate on the significance of faith and surrendering to a higher power in your own journey through sobriety, because I think that is it's such a powerful tool that we all can use. So I'd love to get your thoughts.
beautiful. And this is something that I hold dear in my heart. So thank you for actually bringing that up. that is what got me sober, just to be honest with you. I had to surrender to that higher power. And do you mind if I share a story of what I was experiencing and was going through at that time? And it's going to sound gross, so I apologize, but I have to be real, and I'm all about being authentic in myself. So this was me, not anymore. So I used to drink a fifth of vodka a day. My routine, because I was going to work, I would go ahead and stop at the liquor store. They all loved me, by the way. All the the cashier was like, "Oh, Gina, my friend, how are you?" And I'm like, "Hey." So what I would do is buy a pint of vodka and one Coca-Cola. What I would do is I would get back in my car, go into the parking lot, pour some of that vodka out, pour some of that Coca-Cola out, mix the vodka inside that Coca-Cola, shake it a little bit, and then drink it. Well, one rainy day before work, I just had enough. I felt sick to my stomach. I was like, oh my goodness, I cannot live like this. I had literally vomit bags behind me, what I call vomit bags, like grocery bags in the back seat, just waiting in case I have to throw up in order for me to drink more, because the taste made me gag, but it didn't stop me from actually drinking. So what happened is I remember crying in the car. I was like, God, please help me. I said, if you're out there, I don't want to live like this anymore. I was just crying and crying, crying, because I had enough. I had enough. My life was being destroyed. And it wasn't too long ago after that I had pancreatitis. I didn't know what it was at first. I thought I was just experiencing like menstrual cramps or just some type of cramping and along my abdomen all the way to my torso. And I was like, what is this pain? And so I remember I just had moved out because, of course, my ex and I had just broken up because of my erratic behavior and craziness that comes along with drinking alcohol and being dependent on it. And I remember I was like, you know what? Can you be available in case I have to go to the hospital? Because I don't know if I feel too good. Nothing is being held in my stomach. I have to throw everything up. I don't know. So he was available because it was that morning and I just couldn't even move hardly. And so I said, so which hospital do you want to go? Because in San Jose we have so many. And I don't know. I just picked this and just go to this one here. I guess it's off of the street. Well, lo and behold, it was actually a faith-based hospital, believe it or not. And I just so randomly wound up in there. And I kid you not, the doctors there, they were doing everything. They were just actually doing a lot of like EKGs. They're doing a lot of testing. And it wasn't until I had the CAT scan that they're like, okay, you have pancreatitis. We need to keep you inside here and pretty much give you proper treatment for this because this is very painful. So they were giving me morphine and all this other stuff just so I could not feel the pain. So I remember the doctor, and that was the next day or so. She comes to me, and I swear I must have massaged her at the Four Seasons where I work in the Silicon Valley because she looked so familiar. She was so lovely and just a wonderful person. And she had this necklace that had a cross on there. And I was just looking at it. All I can do was just stare at it. I was just like, wow, that's so beautiful. And she said to me, you need to take your health very seriously. She says, you will die in 10 years if you do not stop drinking. And you need to take care of yourself. And I was like, what? No one ever mentioned death to me before. I will die soon. No one ever said that to me. So I was like, whoa. And I had to think about myself, my kids, because I was the mother of two boys at the time. And I'm just like, okay, let me just go ahead and really think about this. So I stayed a week at the hospital and nobody visited me. Nobody visited. I mean, I guess I was hated all those times from being mean to everybody, probably, who knows. But it really allowed me to really go inside within myself, my spirit, and then pray, and then just have that time alone. So I had the opportunity to pause. So when I came out, and then yes, my family came finally. My mom, my stepdad, my ex, was there, and then my children. They brought me to my new little studio, which I had literally just had moved into. And I remember going back and I opened the refrigerator, or actually it was the freezer, and then I saw that bottle of vodka in there. I was like, no. So I went, poured it in the sink, threw it, because the garbage was outside at the time. So I threw it outside. And then I said, no, let me go ahead and figure myself out, discover myself. And I was already attending church. I already knew of Jesus, okay? But I never followed Jesus. And I knew of like, okay, there's a Buddha, there's this. For me, it's all the same because God
Yeah.
is God. It's just a big frequency. You can call it universe, you can call it spirit, whoever it is, God is whoever aligns to your spirit, okay? As long as you surrender to a higher power. That's the most important thing. So what I did, I started going to church and I was led to a Christian church, and then I was like, okay, I have to stop doing my old habits and start changing new habits. And that's what allowed me to go ahead and start serving, where I was meeting other women. I was involved in a women's Bible study group. And I was just serving. And I was loving what I was doing because not only was it a state keeping me away from alcohol, but I was building these relationships that they loved God.
Yeah.
They loved God. And I'm like, wow, I need to go ahead and surround myself with these people because they were very uplifting. They wanted to hear my story. They wanted just to share their story. And then we all just had fun. So that's where I was aligned to. It was the church, and it just started getting better and better, to be honest.
I love that. I first and foremost, I want to thank you for sharing that story because it can be so impactful to anybody in the audience who might be at that position. There's so many stages of that story that you told that I feel like a lot of people, if they're going through something like that, they could be like, "Oh shoot, I remember when I was like that," or "I'm going through that." Maybe I'm the one going to the liquor store and they're saying, "Hey, John, your regular order today." When you want the regular and things like that. And I think one thing that I really resonated with your story was a sense of community, that sense of belonging, because there's two parallels that I saw here, right? There was one that you were in the hospital and your family didn't visit you, and then obviously when you came out and then you started serving and kind of building that women's Bible camp, sorry, Bible study, and being involved, you built another community out there, which I assume you're really close with them still. And then you have those different levels of community. And I think for everybody who's watching out there, if you're going through any kind of addiction, and right now, like I announced yet, but I think phone addiction is going to be something that's really going to be it's going to be really talked about. Same thing with alcohol and substance abuse. You brought up a great point when you mentioned that you saw that cross and that was your sign, and you were told that there was 10 years, you had 10 years to live, and you kind of like had that aha moment, and then you switched your life from there. In your 5-year journey, I believe, since you've been sober and helping other women, do you see yourself in the people that you do help?
Oh my gosh, 100%. We attract the people that align to us in a way. So, in other words, we're a reflection of ourselves, and whoever we attract is a reflection of us. So, what happens is that a lot of the people that do come to me, they're like, it reminds me of me. So I know how to nurture them. I know how to help them, and I know how to guide them and then give them the support that they need, the tools, the mentoring, the coaching, just the uplifting. I want to be like, I'm like their cheerleader, like, hey, it's okay if you mess up. We all mess up. I said, heck, I mess up, but not with drinking anymore, but I still mess up. It's part of the human experience. And that's how we grow, by the way. We grow because we fail sometimes, and failure is just growth to me. It's only when you stop doing what you're trying to succeed in, then maybe perhaps that's failing. But if you're persistent and you have that perseverance and you're patient, good things will come to you.
There we go. And that is so relevant to anything in life, right? Even myself in a sales career, if I want to close X amount of business, I do have to be persistent. I do have to have that reflection. And I love that you said that reflection because I truly believe, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? And whether it be like people that are in your inner circle or people that you just met, like you and I, like I already feel that we're connected already, right? And we're across the world here chatting about this. But like you said, you see yourself within the people that you help and you want to be a cheerleader. Has there ever been a thought in your mind where, yes, I want to be that cheerleader, I want to be that coach, and I want to be somebody who helps somebody, but has there ever been a time where you kind of felt like yourself that, I'm pouring from a little bit of an empty cup here and I need a little bit of a recharge? How has, if that's ever happened, how has your support network helped you with that?
Oh my goodness, that is beautiful. So by the way, vibe and tribe, I love that. So yeah, so okay, there's so much we can give, right? We give, but then what about us? Who's going to take care of us? Because I'm a mother too. Not only am I pouring my heart to well, guests, because I do massage as well, guests and clients, my husband, my children, my mother, and friends. but what about me? So I actually have a mentor myself. I actually have about three mentors that I go to that actually have built in communities. So if I'm feeling like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit down, well, first off, I pray first. That is, that's what I do first. I will stop, I will breathe, I will pray. And then clarity comes to me. It just downloads. I don't know. I'm in a different level where I feel like I am very connected to source now, where I just feel it 100%. So the community is very important. And so I go to their Facebook groups, like you had mentioned earlier about groups. I will go out on hiking adventures, and then we'll spend this even with my family. They're actually giving me lots of love, which then fills my cup as well. We all need that love and we all need that support, because I think these times people don't have that. They feel like by themselves, especially after 2020. They were stuck at home. We couldn't go out, we couldn't do anything. Luckily, we had Zoom available, so a lot of people were connecting that way. And I think that then transitioned into building more relationships with people across the world, like how I am with you, like you had mentioned before, right? So it is a matter of just finding the right people, and especially your family. I always feel like I have to give my best energy to my family. If I'm consumed with the outside world or outside and everything and not looking internally, I feel that I get lost sometimes.
Mm.
So it's always nice to have my best energy at home, because the world is crazy out there and your family deserves the best energy.
They do. They need the best versions of you. There's been even me being a little bit vulnerable here. Like, my parents, they sorry, I grew up in an amazing household, and my parents got divorced when I was 15, and that was a different shift. But, one common phrase that I would hear from my mom was that, oh, your dad would act like this amazing person, like in public, he's smiley, happy go lucky and stuff like that. But like in private, he's a bit of an asshole, and I thought it should be the other way around. You should be that person who is uplifting and want to take care of your family. One theme that I'm obviously getting from this conversation, Gina, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is definitely family and the power of family. Ed Milet brings up numerous times on his podcast about the power of one, and he was talking about his father who's went through alcohol abuse, and he would always ask his dad, "Hey, when are you going to get sober?" And he's like, "You know what? One day at a time. Just one day at a time. I'm going to get sober today, and then tomorrow I'm going to do another day, and then keep on going forward." As you mentioned before, I'm going to hit you with a hard hitting question here because it's been on my mind since we've been talking. You mentioned that your ex-husband and then you have two kids previously as well. What is the connection like now that you got sober with your ex-husband, if he's still in the picture from there? How do you think that, obviously there's the co-parenting aspect of it, right? But has there been any thoughts, like, just conversations like, Gina, fuck, I really love where you're at right now. I'm so happy for you. Like, what does that kind of look like, if you're comfortable sharing that?
Oh my gosh, I will be so comfortable. And it's very sad. Okay, the reason why I had to divorce was because, okay, let me just back up a little bit, okay? I actually was married and had one son, he who is now 15 years old. And when I divorced, well, not divorced, I was in separation. I'm going to be real here. In my vulnerability, I actually started talking to was a college fling, but also slash friend again. And then we hooked up, and then I got pregnant. So I got pregnant, and I already knew like he and I would never work. We were just going to be like friends, whatever, friends with benefits or whatever. And so what happened is, like, after I had given birth, I was like, let's try to make it work. But of course, I relapsed and it got all ugly. So there's two dads. So I'm going to go with the first one here, okay? Which is my ex husband. Unfortunately, he wanted to continue the path of partying. He was a DJ, he was
Mm.
always clubbing, and that was our lifestyle. We'd always party. We party everywhere. We go home and still party. That was who I was. I was the partier. And he wanted to stay in that social environment where you just are getting smashed all the time. I didn't want to. So unfortunately, he is still struggling with addiction. And so right now I have a full custody of my 15-year-old son. And once in a while, his dad will contact him, because he's old enough to they communicate together. I want him to have a relationship with his dad, but his son knows, like his son knows, like, hey, dad's not well. So all I do is just pray for him and that he gets sober one day. And so I don't have a relationship with him. The other one, however, like I said, we were friends for 20 years already. So we've already known each other for so long. co-parenting is okay. Like we're fine, you know. He knew that we weren't going to work out anyway, and I already had that in my head, and so the drinking just made it worse. But that co-parenting is just fine, you know. We have a great schedule. So I have no problems with that guy. And he wasn't much of a drinker. He would drink and he was an enabler, but he wasn't an alcoholic he wasn't an addict. So those are the two stories of the dads there.
Thank you for sharing. No, I thought about it, and I think that is so impactful because when you have a supportive partner, I know with myself, my wife is, and I know with your husband as well, is that they uplift us. They make sure that we're going on the right path, and that sometimes I want everybody in the audience to understand that because like I've had friends who've kind of messaged me about like tips and tricks of being married, even though I've only been married for like 4 years, right? But it's just like you were talking about the public too, right? And I think the audience needs to understand that too. That when we post on social media, that's another aspect of it. We're happy go lucky, everything's going great, but then behind the scenes, everything could be falling apart, right? So I want to give you kudos for sharing that because I think for the audience, it would be impactful for them to truly understand, no matter what journey, like sometimes I truly believe, and I hate to say this out live, but when my dad left, the partner that he's with now that I reflect on in my life, that partner is probably a better fit than my mom. And it's hard for me to actually say that, without ruffling a little bit of feathers, but it's true when I look at everything for what it is. And God doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't punish us. He doesn't make mistakes. Everything is whatever he kind of plans, and we gotta kind of protect that journey. So let's talk a little bit about the similarity that you have to my wife. You're both registered RMTs, registered massage therapists, and like you're talking about the Four Seasons. Can you talk a little bit about your holistic approach to helping women find fulfillment and joy in sobriety from your past experience?
Oh my goodness. I'm all into the spiritual healing, and I'm an empath, so I feel and I sense. So I've been doing massage therapy for about 17 years now. I've been at the Four Seasons about 16 and a half. Literally had went to finish school and then got on board with the Four Seasons. Mind you, I wasn't that good in the beginning, but I am pretty good now after so many years of experience, especially working with the what is it, the high profile guests, and I've worked on celebrities. I'm not going to name drop because I'm not supposed to. But anyway, but when I work on women in the massage, and a lot of them, some of them have come drunk, some of them come, you can tell they were on medication. Why do I know? Because I used to be on medication and I used to drink. So I know. And they will just share their story. And during massage, some people like to be quiet, some people like to talk a lot. I'm fine. If you want to talk, I will talk. If you want to be quiet, I'm quiet. Whatever. I just go with how they are. I sense them. I sense them. And when people are asking me questions and things, I feel like it's like a therapy session. Not only am I helping them physically, but I'm giving my heart to them emotionally. So they get the best of both worlds, and it's a beautiful thing because I take that in with clients and friends and family. When I get a lot of text messages from friends, what should I do with this, some family members as well, what do you think about this? And I am just a good listener. Sometimes the best thing to do is just to listen, because may not want your they may not want your input. Seriously, they just need to get it out. And my husband now, who I've been married to since 2019 at the end, like December,
Hey,
or
me too.
yeah. Yeah.
Us
Oh,
too.
really? How
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. August 11th, 2019. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, and I met him in church, the church that we went to, that we were serving together, and that's how I met him. And it just works out beautifully because his son is like my youngest son's age, and so he was divorced, I was divorced, and so we have a nice little family now. But what I was saying is that, oh my gosh, let me lose my train of thought here because my husband, yes, yes, yes. So I get giddy when I talk about my husband. That's when you know you love your man, is when you get all like excited when you're like, oh, my
No.
husband. So when he comes, he's an engineer, okay? Do I know anything about engineering? No, no clue, because I sucked at math in like high school. And
Mhm.
so he comes home and he just tells me all about these projects, what he's working on, these graphs, these statistics, this, that. I'm like, okay. So I just listen. Whatever he tells me, I'm just, okay, that's great. And then sometimes when it comes to like personal things about, okay, he's having maybe an issue with his manager or this is that, I will stop and say, okay, do you want me to coach you or do you want me just to listen?
Oh
So
my God.
he'll tell me, and just listen. I'm like, okay. Or he knows my thing. He'll be like, I just want you to listen. Okay, I don't need any input or anything because he knows by now. I'm like, hey, do you want me to do it this way or this way? So yes, to answer your question, I feel that listening is like one of the best things you can do to for somebody because they just want to like get it out because it's stuck in there. It's that energy that's stuck in there that's waiting to get out, and if that's just verbalizing it, that's it.
It's so important. I love that you said that because like there's so many familiarities. I do something kind of similar, but I say to my wife anytime she's going through something, "Hey, do you want to talk about it or do you want a distraction from it?" And she'll pick one of it and then like, crack some jokes or go see a movie or something like that. Or like she wants to talk about it, then I understand it's for me to learn. And my wife always talks about, it being a therapy session. For me, I got about 30 tattoos. So anytime I go see my tattoo artist, it's always a therapy session for me. Right. So it's kind of like knocking two birds with one stone. But the people from various backgrounds that you're able to like as your patients. My wife calls them patients. So as their patients, just to kind of hear about how people kind of live or different parts of their life and things like, and be a part of that. There's people, I'm pretty sure the same thing with you, Gina, that have been with you probably since the beginning. My wife has been at this place. She's moved to our house here, but she's been here for about 5 years, and she's had the same people come in for 5 years to see her just based on that. But you know what I don't like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, okay? So we're gonna put my wife on the spot a little bit. Everybody always asks me because I always tell them my wife's an RMT. They're always like, "Oh my God, your back must be good. You get all the massages, your feet, all that stuff." I'd be like, "No, bitch. My wife does not give me any massages. If it's anything, it's I'm the one giving the massages." Can you confirm or deny if that is correct or not, Gina?
Oh, I got cold chills because those are truth bombs, okay? Because I'm like, uh oh. You know what? I don't give my husband massages either. Maybe on an anniversary.
Ah, boo. All right, maybe it's an RMT thing. Maybe it's a part of like your school, like your last day of graduation, the internal, like, do not give massages to your significant others. Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. I got to call your husband after this to get some therapy
I
alone with him.
know. Oh, but once in a while, like if we're like laying in bed and his arm is hurting, I will just go ahead and like work on it a little bit. But mostly I have him work on me because okay, I'm gonna be honest, he's the only massage therapist, he's not even a massage therapist, that can actually get my knots out. Nobody, and I've gone to everybody, even the people who I work with. He's the best. So I mean,
It's the hands of love. It's the hands of love. My wife says the same thing. She's like, every time I give a massage, and I know we're going off topic here, but this is our show. She's
yeah.
always like, like, "Oh my God, you should be a massage therapist. Your hands are so good. How did you know this was hurting?" I was like, "Bitch, shut up." Like, wait, when was my turn? Like, let's go from there. But I think it's just so powerful. Like you want to talk about serving, but I know you got into serving after becoming sober. But when you think about it, you've been serving for the past like 16 or 17 years in your own career. You're helping people literally get better health wise and let them talk out their problems and different things like that. So I want to acknowledge you for that and give you kudos because I think that's something that you guys overlook. Like you're like, this is my career, this is my job, this is kind of expected, but it's like, no, no, no. Like you literally have the hands of God. You got the hands of light, just helping people throughout their journey. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Yes, we're awesome.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. You guys are pretty cool. So one final question, because I'm having so much fun, but we this is a 30-minute show. So my question to you, Gina. I always like to ask this to people at the end. What is one question that you wish that I asked you today, and why?
That is a great question. What is one question I wish you'd ask me? Maybe like how I feel back then versus how I feel now. So, do I answer my own question?
Well, like always use this as a two prong, so I'm gonna leave it up to you. So prong one, door number one is gonna be that yes, you answer the question, or door number two, you come back on a future episode.
I'll do okay, a future episode because there's so much I can talk about, and it'll just go on and on and on. And I don't want to. I don't want
Uh,
to take over the 30
no,
minutes
no,
that
no.
we have. So maybe we share next time. But yes, it's the before and after, and then my own personal transformation, what I perhaps did for myself.
Or maybe door number three, you bring me on your podcast and we talk about it.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's funny. It's an all women podcast, and the only man who's ever been on the first episode was my husband.
there we go. Kudos to him.
But
All
you'll
right,
be
we'll
the
do it.
first one. If when I bring men inside, then you'll be the first one for sure. Okay, because I get a
Awesome.
lot of messages from the guys saying, yeah, I would love to be on your podcast. Like, I'm sorry, I'm only interviewing women right now. Women's podcast literally is only like 10% male that view it, and like the rest, 80% is like all female
No,
audience.
no,
So
you got to go with your audience, and kudos to you for not for sticking to your niche, because that's one thing for growth as well. So, Gina, I had such an amazing time with you. Tell everybody, plug your stuff. How can people get a hold of you?
yeah, so www.ginakunadian.com. That's Kunadian. And you can find me on social media, Instagram, shine_Gina Kunadian, and just do a Google search and then you'll see everything there. I think
We
I'm
got a
the only Gina
celebrity.
Kunadian there anyway. So
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm like Ryan Muhammad. I get like everything. So like I'm like, you gotta search the Logistics Monk. You'll find some stuff in there. So once again, Gina, I can't thank you enough for coming on the Logistics Monk show. It was a blast. Like I said, we'll be able to do this again in the future. Good luck to everything. I always tell people like you, I can't wait to see you on stage and selling out arenas and spreading your messages to the masses. So thank you so much, and take care. And everybody else, thank you for tuning in. This is the Logistics Monk show. We'll see you guys back at it again next Monday. Take care.
thank you.